But I mean, we had to
You're
cut
right.
a
No,
few
yeah, we
things.
had to cut.
We had to
We
cut
did
some
have to make
things.
some cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love having a friend to hold you accountable. That's
Yeah.
another element to it all. Is like once you write your syllabus, have someone look it over.
Have someone look it
Have
over,
a mentor
right?
look it over.
Every syllabi that we looked at when we were in college, it was reviewed
and
by
they'll
a few
tell
people.
you, this is too much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah, you
know.
can't complete all this. Not in this semester. Maybe we're all like,
because then you end up
sure.
it's going to be incomplete on
Yeah.
all of your assignments.
Oh,
and then what? You
that's
failed the class.
Not cute. And then you got to retake the courses.
Oh, baby.
And now you're looking crazy because you set back and your other girlies have
Exactly.
pushed forward. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I catch up? And you're sprinting and now you're taking 7 classes. You're overloading and then you just drop everything.
And then
no.
you drop
Slow
shit.
and steady wins the race.
Aftergrads, we're back. We are finally back for our first episode. This feels different. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have changed. It actually feels like a production. We're no longer
You can
in
see
DC.
here, we're not in DC.
No longer in DC. We definitely have switched it up. We're in a new city. Can we say it now?
Let's go ahead and break the ice.
Okay.
We're in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, babes.
Obviously, your hometown.
Yes.
And I've been here a few times, and I'm actually really enjoying my return to the city.
I can't lie. This summer was different. I don't know for you guys who are from Dallas, but coming back, I was like, wait, what is this? This summer feels different. It was a lot more humid, thick air, but it's finally passing over, and I'm starting to actually recognize my hometown.
You're talking about the weather. I don't know when you said it felt different.
I'm talking about the weather.
I thought you were talking about the way that you spent it, the things that you were getting into, but that's fair too. The weather,
way that
I totally
spent
understand.
was pretty the same as I used to, but for sure the atmosphere felt different, and everyone was like, one of the big things in Texas is like for small talk is talking about the weather.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a thing.
It's really a thing. It's like, oh, how are you doing? Good. This weather, isn't it?
Just beating us up.
It's
all this
really
heat, just
that
taking
way.
us out.
But I was actually irritated by some of the small conversations because for me, I'm like, no, this is a different type of heat. Like, as in, our earth is melting.
Yeah, I mean, you literally showed me your car. You showed me some of your cars,
She
and then
has
all the other
sunburns.
cars that were literally sunburns.
It's normal.
It'll look like it's been scratched off or scraped off. And I was like, okay, I'm from the South. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, as y'all know. But I had never seen heat damage like that to cars. And I thought you were joking. I'm like, wait, are you serious? I knew the heat here
My
was
baby
tough
has sun
and
damage.
intense. But yeah, no, that's literal sunburn on cars. I just hadn't seen that before. We should put pictures up so that they can see what we're talking about, because I was shook. I didn't understand.
And that was from summers ago, but it just seems to be continuously getting hotter and hotter, and that concerns me because I'm like, okay, if it's this hot to the extent where my skin is actually feeling pain, what about next year? But, maybe I'm paranoid. I'm a very conscious person when it comes to like environment and how things are changing, and I don't take that lightly. So when it's happening in small talk conversations, it kind of irritates me. But anyway, we are in Dallas, Texas. We are back. It's finally cooling down. We're entering the fall season, and it feels different.
It does. I mean, obviously, we're in a different city, so the flow, we're trying to get back into that. We took time off. Yeah. Obviously, we ended the first season, and now we're entering season 2 of the Aftergrad Podcast. Our anniversary is coming up. We were talking about that, too. Like, November 7th is the official date that we released content. That was the day we released our trailer. And that date, it's less than a month away of us recording this episode, the first episode, and that's just so exciting. That's such a huge milestone of us being consistent, showing up to the mic, learning from one another.
When I was young, a year just seemed like such a long time, but now a year just seems like an hour.
Ooh.
It
And
like
literally
an
like an hour,
like,
and then you have to sit back and reflect, like, what all did I do? But in ours, yeah, that's what I was about to say. For us, I mean, we did a lot.
Yeah.
And especially over the summer for me. I mean, that's what today's episode is kind of going to be like. I know I've been in Dallas for about 3 or 4 weeks at this point, but this is going to be like our moment to publicly catch up and to just let you all know what we have done, what we did, some of the victories that we had, different challenges that we faced as we were in navigating our summer and then transitioning from where I was, Arkansas, and you here in Dallas,
Yeah.
to what we're up to now.
I think I'm starting to get addicted to transitioning, if that's a thing.
I
Like,
love it. That's what Pisces
yo,
are known for. Like, we come at the end of the zodiac calendar. I know this is going to be a thing on the show. Like, why is he always talking about being a Pisces? Well, because I love my sign.
He likes
But
his
we
signs.
love transitions. Anyway, please share more about the
I'm
transition
actually
phase.
really becoming addicted to transitioning. I think we even mentioned it in the last season. The idea of just popping up in a new spot and not knowing anyone and just kind of a blank
It's so
slate.
thrilling.
Like maybe some people might feel daunted by that idea, but truly, it's not that I want to be hidden or in the shadows or anything like that. It's just I like experiencing a new place and also saying that I've experienced a different place for myself.
Yeah.
I'm naturally like there's another side of me, another layer that I consider a scientist. And so I can read about things, that's cool. I can see things, that's cool. But I love an experience and I like to see for it myself. And so the fact that we've been transitioning to all these different cities and traveling, it's just something I really want to be a part of my everyday life for a lifetime.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah, and it was interesting too because I was talking to one of my friends and referencing basically us with the Aftergrad podcast and telling them that we were going to be in a different city.
Yeah.
And it was really inspiring to me when they shared that, oh my goodness, okay, I've never heard that in a podcast before. That's so interesting that you guys are going to be bouncing to different cities. So we were in DC for season 1, now we're in Dallas for season 2. And I just need that for myself because I love the energizing effect of being in a different location,
place.
like you were saying, and transitioning. I feel like that's when I do my most growth, or I have the opportunity to just meet new people, like we've always said before, talking to strangers, going and experiencing new cultural events. We haven't done that as much here in Dallas, but I'm sure we'll get into that. We've just been busy
We've
and
been
making
hustling,
our transition. Yes.
and healthy hustle, of course.
Yeah.
But we've honestly been hustling. Yes, we've been having these transition moments, but have we gotten a chance to like sit down and get into like the clubbing and all that stuff?
No.
Honestly, can I keep it real? No.
Yeah.
I've been very
No,
withdrawn.
Not at all. Yeah, just
And-
getting into
and
the
I like it,
employment.
though.
No, I love it. This is the phase. This is the season that I'm personally in,
Yeah.
and I know from living with you, being at your place, that that's just the phase and the season
Yeah.
that we're in right now, and I love it. I would have it no other way
Exactly.
because I'm loving all of the work that I'm doing. I know it's the end of season 1. I was literally in episode 15 crying because I was like, I'm just trying to figure out my freelance life.
No, for real. Talk about figuring out. We were trying to figure out a lot.
Trying to figure out so much, but I'm happy to share that I'm like now contractually employed. So I'm just so thank you. Yes, I'm so proud of me, and I just am so grateful. And we're gonna dive deeper into that specific job that I'm now doing later,
Yeah.
but it's just great because I was going into summer thinking like, okay, where is this money gonna come from? Because it has to come from somewhere.
And was it a part of your plan, the place that you are in now? Because I know for a fact that the place that we're physically in currently was not a part of the plan. Like in that mist, in the last week of us transitioning from DC to wherever, it was literally to wherever and where.
Right.
What is next? Like we were
Yeah.
checking out a couple of other cities like California and Atlanta, but it was less about the cities for us. It was more about what we could get out of the city. And
Yeah.
we knew what we wanted. We wanted 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, we wanted our own space. Like we already know how
bathrooms.
small that apartment was in DC.
It wasn't, no. So we wanted to level up. We wanted a place for sure to have our own place to be obviously creative and
Yes.
to continue the podcast.
Right.
But guess what? Guess what we were able to
found
find
it.
in our budget?
In our budget, very
in our
much so.
budget. My mom's place.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Miss Gilbert. Oh, we appreciate you so dearly because that is just exactly what we asked for.
No,
Not what
really.
we wanted in the way that it's
the way
happening,
we
but
wanted.
I mean, we got 2
We
bedrooms,
manifested something.
full kitchen because you love to cook, and it's all
Yep.
there. The space, the creative place that we can go when we need to do our separate things or
Yeah.
when we need to collaborate. It's there. And we talked numerous times on the previous season about sometimes making a shift that is different from what you might have expected initially. And this is definitely another one of those moments that
Yeah.
we're having to do where we're working within the resources that we have. Because really it is about, okay, I was talking about finding money.
Yeah.
Okay, being at your mom's place is a way
Yeah.
for us to save. And as we said in the trailer too, a recession could potentially be amongst
Right.
us very soon. So it was just like, okay, how can we get that big city moment,
Right.
but also make sure we're not breaking the bank?
Exactly. Like when people would give me like the side eye and be like, oh, I'm with my parents again. I'm like, honestly, the joke's on you, bro, because you're trying to hold up this persona that like
Yeah.
it's not long
Yeah,
term.
of
Again, I
course.
mentioned this in the last season. I'm trying to go long term, baby.
Always.
So
It's always
if
about the
that
long
means
game.
right here, right now, being with my mom, and there's so much beauty in being with your parents as well.
Yes.
Oh my
Come on,
God.
get
Like
into it.
before
That
you
goes
came,
right, because over the summer.
me and my mom had to work through, and my dad, we had to work through some things. And, you know,
Yeah.
I was thinking about that as well and journaling about that as you go into college, yes, it's all love, heart stuff with your parents. But when you come out of college, you truly have a shift in mindset of being independent. And then you start to see your parents as human. And then you have
Right.
to start breaking all that down, like truly like hearing their story, hearing how you came into play. You hear things differently. I don't know. So I'm re-asking questions that I asked when I was younger, but now as an adult, I'm able to actually digest it and get to see them more as a person, less as a mommy, cause like, or a dad, you know, cause that's different. That's
Yeah.
different. I get to hear, you know, the things that she wish she would have did, or the things that she's currently doing, and hear her new dreams and the dreams that she's still going towards. Cause
Yeah.
honestly, as a kid, it's really all about you. You're like, me. I want to do this. I
Right.
want to do this. But I've never, not I never, but like people or children tend to never really look onto their parents like, okay, what do you want out of life? Da, 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 da. So now we're kind of, I don't know, we're leveling out.
We're leveling out, and it's a beautiful moment too, because I'm not with my mom. I was with my mom over the summer, but
Yeah.
being able to witness you all go through your journey, and then I get to
Listen,
project
talk
that.
about ups and downs though.
For
I do not want to
sure.
make it seem
Oh,
like it's
and I wasn't
beautiful.
internalizing that. Hopefully, you all weren't internalizing it like that either. But no, you were saying that there's a lot that you have to unpack, because
Yeah.
most relationships are not perfect. There's things that you have to acknowledge and work through with one another. I can definitely think about that being at home with my mom, and then also, aside from the things of us working through our quote unquote traumas or whatever those might be, being able to share the work that I've been working on with her. And it's funny because my mom actually in a previous life did the exact thing that I'm kind of working in right now, media, graphic design, marketing. And for me to share some of the things that we've been doing with the
Yeah.
show, and her messaging me and saying, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you, that just lightens my heart and makes me so excited for what we have in store. So leveling out, I think that's a beautiful way
Yeah.
to put it. And growing pains as well, I
Yeah.
think that we've been working
And
through.
that brings me back to the point. So we leave, we come back, and then we leave again.
Right.
It's just now you're on to the next, and then you don't actually get to know your parent. It's that part. So then you
Right.
grow up and you're creating this life. The last time you saw them was when you were in the child mindset. So that's different. So I say all that to say I really love this moment of being with my parents because I'm actually getting a chance to get to know them
Yeah.
on a different level and develop our relationship.
Yeah.
So that when I set forth and start creating my own world and my own lifestyle and so forth, like I know them, I really know them,
Right.
you know?
Right, of course.
It's like things haven't changed. I've heard some stories where like the kids leave and it's like 10 years and they get back and it's like, yeah, I know you're my child, but do I even really know
Right.
you?
Yeah, because you're two
Do you
separate
know
humans.
me? Do you respect me? Or do you
Yeah.
still treat me as a child because you haven't gotten even to experience me as an adult?
Oh, hi.
Right?
There it is.
So like
Yeah.
I love that. That's what I'm listen,
That's the
I'm
journey that you're
obsessed
walking
with being
right
with
now.
the parents.
Wonderful.
I'm for it. But
yeah, but by the
it took a minute.
same token, I'm still in the moment where I'm like, I love being with the parents. Love it. They're putting a roof over our heads.
But
They're
this is
supporting
temporary.
us. It is temporary, right? We are trying to be able to make that shift. And that's, I think, what at least my parents have expressed to me whenever they're offering support. It's like, I'm here to support you. I'm here for you. Do what you need to
Yeah.
do. Get the job done. But the goal is to eventually allow you to spread your wings and fly.
That's that one.
And
It's a nuanced couch potato.
yeah, very much so. Very nuanced. Just being able to appreciate the offerings
Yeah.
that they've been giving us and the blessings and things like that, but running with it too and
Right.
sprinting and just making sure that, for me, I've already expressed this on the show, but it's so that I can be able to give back and show you that I care immensely for everything that
Right.
you've done.
Right.
But I also love what you're saying too. I'm thinking about my summer. It was very basic and boring. I mean, I'm not even a fan, generally speaking, of my hometown, North Little Rock, Arkansas. But this particular summer, I invested in so much of my time in just reading and reflecting and doing a better job of trying to really internalize where I come from, both from a city and geographical perspective, both from the perspective of being raised by my mother. And like you were saying, just getting to know her and understand her perspective of raising me and some of the choices that she made when she was raising me and moving through life, etc. And I'm definitely at a place now where I see my mother as a person, as another human being, and I'm just so grateful, like you're going through right now from living with your mom, being able to see her as just a whole human, right? She is your mother, my mom is my mom, but these are people that had lives before us,
That
and being
way.
able to interrogate that and understand the lineage and how that all trickles into who you are and who you're destined to be, whoa, it's beautiful. And you can only do that when you have time. And for me, that was this summer where I really was just able to lock in. I read like 10 or 12 books on various things. I'm a nonfiction girl. I love to get into the nonfiction books. But it was just very informative summer for me. But why don't we get into like what we did over the summer? You know, like what did you invest your time in? What were you engaging in?
I mean, on a similar sense, it was books. It was books, but it was actually meditation. I wanted to get my morning and night routine down to a science because I'm really stepping, especially in like occupation, into a realm of daily living that requires constant shift. Hey, I said I was addicted to transitioning. Well, it's a constant pivot and change of plans in my everyday life. And so I needed some consistency and some things that just stood up for me and for, you know, my self-development. And so the morning and night, I wanted to focus on that first, and that being involving meditation, reading, and stretching. And that sounds so simple and so easy, but honestly, it was so hard. And like making a conscious effort to ensure that I do it every day made me realize it made more prevalent the distractions that were around me. And as a result, you start to cut off those distractions and your day becomes more simple and things become not mechanic, but like easy, like thoughtless. You don't have to think twice. You know what works for you and so forth. And so when the changes do occur, I see things coming in slow now instead of coming quickly and overwhelming me.
And that's just a consequence because of your routine.
Exactly, because of the meditation and so forth. It's a source of medicine for me. When I don't do it, I definitely feel a difference in my day. So yeah, a majority of my summer was spent on focusing on those things, but also making sure that I make a conscious effort to at least go out like twice a week.
That's smart.
And going out, and I've learned from this summer that going out looks really different for me.
You get to pick and choose how that looks for you,
lot of different people. And that took some peeling as well, and like being real with myself and not lying to myself about what I enjoy when I quote unquote go out. And so my friends, they even have held me accountable and saying like, listen, you don't really like doing that. That's cool. That's fine. But like, we're going to do it. But then like, we'll circle back. And so it's really a beautiful sense of myself came about in the summertime for sure. And things that I like, things that I don't like, and also communicating that to others. So yeah, but then also books, like tapping in.
This was such an intellectual summer for me, and I was here for it. I read so much. For me, it was just diving into some of the industries that I hope to get in, because I think we've expressed on the show, it's so important to just study greats. And so for me being a marketer, I was reading about some of the greats, and one being David Ogilvy. This isn't a marketing podcast, but anyway, that was one of the books that I got into. He has two very important books, Marketing Aftergrads. If you're in that industry, you should definitely tap in and know David Ogilvy. But
and
marketing
books.
It
in our newsletter too. That was something that launched during the summertime.
Casually, yeah. So subscribe to Unlearn. The title of the newsletter is Unlearn. So that's just where we talk about some of the things that we've been reading, things that you should read if you're interested in keeping up with what we're engaging with. And it's also just a way for us to stay updated with you all too, in terms of what's been happening in our lives, some of the victories and things that we did over the summer. But obviously it's going to continue forward. So it's just going to be a space where we share that. I just want to clarify
newsletter, because I don't know, for me, I mean, I knew what a newsletter was, but I didn't know like what honestly is the difference between a newsletter and then like a blog. And like as a marketing person over here, it was one sentence that you mentioned that I feel like can translate a lot for other individuals who may be questioning whether or not they really need a newsletter in their life.
Right, that's true. Yeah, because some people are just like, no, I'm not about to read that.
Yeah, it's just it's a chance to like get into our thoughts and see the things that we're getting into, especially in this current season that we're in. And maybe some of it may resonate with you and maybe some of it may not. And it's not all about intellect and, you know, it's about shows, it's about memes.
It's about everything.
TikToks, it's anything that passes through our mind and that moves us to write something about it. So yeah, definitely tap in. And I love the things that you've already posted and some of the things that you have dove into in terms of articles and stuff, because there's so much content out there. And so just to have a friend is be like a recommendation, be like, oh, thanks, friend.
Yeah, precisely. And probably everything on there that we share might not be for you, which is totally fine, right? It's meant to be this entire location where we can just share some of the thoughts and ideas that we're having that have inspired us, that might motivate you. And that's
eventually other Aftergrads as well.
For sure. And we're going to feature Aftergrads. There's an Aftergrad Spotlight section, which we already started on our Instagram feed too, where we're going to translate that to the Unlearn newsletter. So the theme around it, it's titled Unlearn. unlearn. And so really, as we've always said, we're all about trying to defy various societal expectations that can limit us, that can hold us back, that aren't conducive to our mental well-being, that don't allow us to be our authentic selves. So it's going to be a space that coalesces different pieces of content that speak to that messaging, because that's everything that we do on this show.
Because there's a lot of things that we learned in school that's kind of like muscle memory now, and we have to subscribe to really truly kind of unlearning, because a lot of the things that served us maybe back then or maybe generations ago do not necessarily serve us now. And it's not us trying to say like, listen, don't go to school. I really want to make that clear too. It's not to say that we're saying don't go to school, don't get educated, shri shra. It's more just a nod to take everything with a grain of salt. Analyze everything.
Yeah.
Analyze.
Please do.
Everything.
Even things that we're saying, please.
Even us.
Interrogate us.
That one.
Don't take what we're saying for granted. Nothing that we say.
Nothing that's just given to you should be eaten.
Yeah.
And everyone is different. And if we can continue with this metaphor of eating, I'm a picky eater. I know what works for my body. I know what works for me. And so therefore, that's what I'm going to grasp at. But it's not meant for everybody else. Right. And so you have to know that, and you have to come in with that perspective with education as well. Right. So, and sometimes what you need for you does not come in the institutional sense. Right. So subscribe to Unlearn.
Please do. We'll be there. We'll be releasing content there in the near future. But speaking about some of the content that we're going to feature in Unlearn, and also reflecting on more stuff that we did this summer, we were able to speak and moderate panels for interns. And that was thanks to an organization that I was affiliated with. It's called AIM. And so it's for Alliance for Inclusive and Multicultural Marketing.
Loved it.
And they reached out, and I was the person amongst the two of us that spoke with the interns first, and then they were looking for another person to moderate a panel. And then I said, oh, well, I have a co-host on my podcast, so why don't I just inform them about you, and then you were able to moderate the panel. It was such a blast, and it was also just great to be wanted and desired, and to have someone, an organization, say, I really like what you're talking about. Why don't you come and speak wisdom into the people that we have over here in our organization. Yeah. But it was really cool. The organization, or the event title, was Safe Space for Me. And it was really just, talking about how to bring your authentic self to work. And I think that those are topics that we're always trying to ingrain and champion and promote. And it was also cool because some of the interns reached out to me. I don't know if any of the interns reached out to you after the moderation.
One thing about the summer, as I was speaking to different areas or groups of people and of young individuals, may I be specific, it was different. It's cool to speak. I love it, but it's a new thing as I'm adulting that I'm trying to get used to, is that, these not children, but like these young adults look at me as an adult, and I don't even see myself as an adult yet. So that was really cool, like to go through the summer and to experience this new thing of responsibility as being an example for other younger individuals. And so I really appreciate it, and I hope that I can continue doing it in the future. And I really want it to be, again, a part of my like career lifestyle, where I make an effort to go out my way to make sure I can pour into other individuals, because that was so much fun. But yeah, it made me, I had a person talking about that being kind of weird and getting used to and adjusted to that. Like the other day, I had a girl come up to me and she said miss or like ma'am or something. And I was like,
hold up.
Whoa.
Slow down.
Hold on.
Please don't.
Give me a second.
Ma'am.
Give me a second. Because like in my brain, I'm still 18.
Right.
So before, when I was younger, I would go up to people and I would say ma'am or whatever. And some people would come to me and be like, don't call me that. Yeah. And I would be like, what is their problem?
What do you mean? I'm just trying to show you respect.
What's their problem? But like when it happened to me, I was like, whoa, sis, you don't have to call me
that.
Right.
Deja vu for real. Like, oh my God. Okay. I'm in that person's shoes now.
But I love it. Like, honestly, it just means that I'm entering a space, and I just want to make sure I'm worthy of that space, right? And so that's why I continue to read. That's why I continue to write, because I want to make sure that the things I am putting out and the things I am pouring into other individuals is something of substance and something that can propel us forward as a world and a nation. Yeah. So yeah, very fun. So much fun. And we're going to continue doing it.
Oh, for sure.
We're doing it now.
We're doing it right. Yeah. Literally, our podcast, that's what the platform is for. guess we can get into jobs now, talking about what we did over the summer and then things that are leading into what we're doing currently.
Work, yeah. So that transition was shaky. And I think I expressed it before. Maybe I didn't express it enough because at the time I was like kind of insecure, honestly, in where I was. I felt like I needed to be in a job. And for so long, especially my degree, I expected to be in the corporate world and then to begin working my way up. And it wasn't looking like that at all. Even when the opportunity provided itself, I was still very lost because I didn't feel like all of me was in the work or all of me could be in the work. And so therefore, a lot of like the potentials ended up being just tossed. And it's crazy. It's like when you least expect it, that's when what you wanted or what you desired or what you didn't even know you needed comes to the forefront. And that kind of happened again, random.
You're a published writer, ma'am. Come on, get into it. Don't be shy with the details.
Random, really random. But I'm so appreciative of like this opportunity to now be writing for a magazine in Italy. And so we basically cover architecture and design around revolving cultures and economics, which is such a niche area, and it just says
so perfectly fit
it's
for.
like my signature was on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, honestly, if you still haven't found what you're looking for, what is calling you, and you maybe not even know, just give it time. Like, don't jump into anything. And I'm really grateful for myself not jumping into anything, because I have a tendency to do that when something's not going right. I'll hop into anything and then I realize I hate it. I absolutely don't want to do anything for it. And so for this to just lightly fall into my lap, and I think we mentioned something like that in the last podcast in terms of don't forcing a shoe to fit. I really believe in that. If you're forcing a shoe to fit,
chop.
It's really a chop. And sometimes though, like, it's a nice shoe. Sometimes it's really
cute.
nice.
Right, it got a nice price tag attached.
Right. Sometimes that pay grade is right. Yeah. Sometimes their name brand is it.
Yes.
But you don't want to accidentally, by trying to force a shoe to fit and getting it to fit, you don't want to get there and actually end up hating the environment or the people or what they stand for. And then having to start all over again. Like, that's more time. And for me, time is money.
Always.
It's really money. And so to me, the most valuable asset that I have is time. And so the fact that I utilized my asset and I waited for the right thing to come is just honestly a beautiful thing. So I really hope that that storyline and me being vulnerable in that sense has, you know, maybe can touch someone. But also in a sense, it's something... It was unexpected, and it was something I never saw myself doing.
Right, because I sent it to you, actually. Now that I'm remembering about how it came to the forefront, I saw it on LinkedIn, and I was like,
It was a light.
Okay, Victoria would love this. She needs this, and boom, boom, pow, that's how you
emailed immediately, and then they got back, and they said, let's get it, let's start.
Let's do
and
it. And shout out to the friends, too, that just know that something is meant for somebody else, and then you just send it to them, because
that takes maturity.
That takes maturity. And, I just appreciate those friends that just have that eye that be looking out, that are like, okay, boom, just send that.
Thank you. I know, like, I was just giving a moment to say, honestly, thank you.
Yes.
Like, really, that takes a level of maturity to look at something and that something seems so glittery and beautiful. And to see it, honestly, being really great for someone else so I really appreciate you.
That's my bread and butter. I love doing that for friends. Like, this is so meant for you. I need you to apply.
Oh, my gosh.
And if you don't, I'm going to send it to someone else, because, like, it needs to be applied by
you gotta
one of my
have
friends.
one. You have to get yourself one. If you don't, like, oof.
Yeah.
Be that one.
Be that one, or find you one, whatever that looks like for you, always.
But I never saw myself as a writer. I was always so scared of words and like expressing myself. Again, like, I feel like I mentioned this before, when I was really, really young, I was really, really shy. And so doing this now, writing, I'm doing everything that I said I did not want to do.
Oh, I feel that. And that's just so iconic and so brilliant.
Crazy.
I love that.
Also, you know how I was saying earlier, like, I have an addiction to transition, but I also have an addiction to challenges.
Right.
And I think they go hand in hand.
Oh, for sure.
It might have been honestly from my dad, because anything we feared, he made us do. And in a way, it sometimes came across as very strict and aggressive, but like, now I eat it up. Like, when I see something that like makes me like, oh my God, like, I could never do that. We're gonna do it today.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna find a way.
So
for sure,
it's been a journey though. It never jumped to this moment. It never jumped to writing. It took me behind scenes in college, like writing away and being in the writing center. Yeah, I was that chick in the writing center before, and now I'm publishing. It's making no sense, but I guess it's sensing.
International magazines and platforms, and interviewing iconic individuals in the fashion world. Like, it's beyond me.
It's a dream.
So happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But no, speaking about the challenges, I too have that same inclination where if I see something that I either wasn't good at or something that was challenging for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool, yay, I'm gonna do this
Right.
anyway. Let's
Right.
go, because
Right.
I just want to prove to myself that I can do it. Right?
That one.
It's part of that. I don't know if this. I'm sure there's some type of minority complex or just so like some sort of trauma complex where you just feel the need to like, oh, I'm gonna do this in spite of my deficiencies. Here we go. So let's get into it. Yeah.
You have a choice.
So I mean, it was
Yeah.
definitely that when I applied mathematics when I got my major in that, because when I tell you, the math girlies will know this, but like a derivative is just a basic thing in calculus and math. Like I could not take a derivative to save my life. And so I was like, oh, okay, let's just major in math. Like why not? Like let's just go for it. I suck at it, therefore I'm gonna do it. So
and now you're genius.
Not genius. Ooh, I would not claim that, because those math girlies out there be eating me up. But I'm relatively all right, and numbers don't scare me.
Period.
So,
they don't scare you anymore.
and that's part of the process, I think, with everything that we talk about. The victory for me / us was, I mean, you see it up here too. I think we have Vogue somewhere. Yeah, one of the magazines up there. And me being a photographer, I had one of my images that was featured in Photo Vogue, and that was just woo! Yeah, like very excited about that. That was really such an incredible moment. I was so thrilled and overjoyed.
Especially in your freelance career, because he officially like made his decision to be a freelance. I don't know when it was, but you were like, I'm ready to freelance this.
Yeah.
But that's scary. Like,
It's very
because that
nerve-wracking.
literally means, for those who aren't familiar with the freelance world, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know when the client will come in, and I don't know if they're going to commit. I don't know if they're going to be professional. It's just like a list of things that you have to deal with. But to then be
have that featured, right? Because that's kind of your bread and butter, which leads to other opportunities. It's those publications that, in some sense, offer you the support and the encouragement and the, what's the other word that I'm looking for? Basically the assuredness from other people that, oh, okay, this person is a good photographer. Like Vogue co-signed your work.
Exactly.
So it's just those things that continue to allow you to secure other clients that you need. Because like you were saying, you just don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from oftentimes, unless you get to a point, which is the goal for any freelancer, to have a steady rotation of clientele. But it takes time to build that.
It really takes time.
And I'm just grateful that that accolade was bestowed upon me, and for me to be able to say this in my portfolio, like I have an image in Photo Vogue. Yay for me. It's beautiful. But I also want to highlight too, in terms of my particular freelance career, literally, you know, we already talked about how I quit my job in previous episodes of the Aftergrad Podcast, but there's positives and negatives to everything, right? Like I love the choice that I've made to be a freelancer, but it doesn't come without its negative connotations and negative issues, right? I'm the sole proprietor person that is producing the work, that is reaching out to the clientele, that's extending myself to make sure that everything gets completed on time. And so all that pressure rests on me. I would have it no other way. I enjoy that environment. I thrive in it. But it's still not all flowery.
I'm literally like seeing an illustration in my head right now of someone like holding a candle, and like nearing the end of DC, like our candle was going out, and then we don't know where we're going, but then again, we're giving it like another flash, another lick. And then, but we're now in a different tunnel. And so we're having to navigate the new challenges, because it hasn't stopped. Like, even though we've had all these new highlights and these great things that have come from our work, there's now like these new challenges that we face. And to be honest, it feels like it's going to be another gap year too.
Come on, let's get it. Because I'm not going back to corporate, not yet at least.
No, not anytime soon. I was telling, a girl reached out to me, and I was emailing her back, and she was like, so are you in corporate or are you not in corporate? And I was like, I am on neither spectrums. I fluctuate in between two as I so need to. But like, I realize now that I'm bringing something to the market that will eventually be in demand. And so with that...
Y'all hear that? Listen clearly. Repeat that statement for the world. I'm bringing something to the market that will be in demand.
With that. Yeah, truly, because so right now
you have no other choice but to bring that confidence.
Demand right now. No, for real.
Like you have no other option. Like again, I know you are somewhat in this area of going in between freelance and whatnot, but whatever, you have to bring that confidence.
But I didn't before, and so with that, I found myself trying to convince other people that my niche is needed, or like the things that I'm thinking and writing about are going to be needed in the near future. And so that's why another thing for the summer has been, I have quotes for summers and I also have them for years and stuff. And so my quote for this summer has been, I'm no longer trying to convince anyone. So with that, every time I say that to myself, my chest literally releases and I just do what my intuition is telling me to do. And so, and with me not trying to convince anyone, people are starting to be convinced.
Right.
And it's very interesting how I'm seeing that unfold, and me becoming even more comfortable and not worrying about convincing people of what I'm doing and what I'm up to is bringing in an attraction of its own.
Yes.
So that's really, really cool. And now it's starting to come in the form of accolades for us. And it's a beautiful thing, but we're still in the midst of our unknown journey, and it's turning into gap year number 2. So now we can't even get away with, oh, we just graduated from college. No, now we're in it.
We're in it. We're in the work world. We're trying to figure it out. And that journey, we're just going to continue to share it with the Aftergrad family and just keep y'all updated on what we do.
But talk about like the not so beautiful things that we're tapping into right now. I know I have mine and I'm willing to share and be vulnerable, but like, so in the midst of like writing simultaneously, it's not really the pay that I want. And I want to be very clear that this is not glamorous at all. So I'm doing my passion, but it's coming with the cost. And it's coming with the cost in the paying section. And so I'm simultaneously having to take on other jobs while still doing other jobs that are like for research and stuff that's not paying me at all. And so my everyday is looking like a real hustle with very little income coming in. But it's like, I have to know that it's going to come in the long haul. And so that's something that's kind of really tough to navigate, especially in the creative industries and creative worlds, is like, do I, do it for free or not do it for free? But honestly, I'm learning the power of like showing up with a beautiful attitude and just having fun and figuring out how to be
work.
We've said it before, like being comfortable in the uncertainty and in the unknown and in the uncomfortable. And so I'm finding comfort doing little things like in the evening I'm actually working at a grocery store. Like hear me out. In the evening I'm working at a grocery store. But that's
not very revolutionary. Just casually working at a grocery store.
But it has its purpose in my life, and I know that it does, and I have confidence that it will be something that a storyline that I even depend upon in my future career. And so it's taking a lot right now, even to be telling this publicly to people. But I do hope that someone is listening and is like, oh, my retail job or my working at Burger King is actually paying off. It is. I promise you, it is. And I'm here to say, like, it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Nothing to be ashamed of,
as well, because guess what? I'm still bringing that bread. I'm still bringing that money. And I'm still holding myself to my responsibilities. And again, I'm a millionaire in time. I'm only 23. I want to throw that out there. If you're 22, 23, 24, and you think you're 25, 26, keep going just until 30, like even 40, you still have so much time. And so the fact that I'm being what some may even consider at the bottom or on the ground, I'm seeing so much. My eyes are being so open to so many different people and to so many different ideas and thoughts. And I'm just incubating.
You're just waiting.
I'm waiting
for the moment, right?
And it's happening. It's slowly.
And you're being able to strike too, as well, with the small wins and victories that we've shared previously. True.
You got to go down to go up sometimes,
That's the part, and that's the way I was going to summarize everything that you just said. You got to go down to get up sometimes. And when you know that, and when you're comfortable with that being the conclusion for why you're doing whatever type of work or whatever type of action that you're doing, you're going to be just fine. And the same goes for me and what I'm doing. I mean, obviously the bills have to get paid in some way. Obviously we're getting a break by living at home with your mom and things like that. But obviously money still needs to come in so that there's the savings and things like that. And in terms of my freelance work, one of my current clients, I'm helping a lady basically market her book. And for me, when I looked at the pay grade that the client was offering, it wasn't something that excited me initially because it was below what my normal rate would be for the type of work that I'm doing and just for where I'm personally at and the other salaries that I've made previously. But something in my spirit just told me that also it was rooted in me just looking at the person offering the position and me being excited about them and their work history and saying to myself, oh, this is just someone that I want to know. So, okay, Robert, ignore the price tag associated with the job because you like the work that you would be doing. You know that this person seems like a really interesting human being that you just want to get to interact with. So like, why don't just go for it? And so ultimately I did. I applied and the client decided to hire me. And yeah, like literally wonderful for me. So, like you said, sometimes you got to go down to go up, but then also it's sometimes not even, I guess everything is
It's
about
not
how
even
you
considered
frame. Yeah,
down.
it's not even going down, right?
Exactly.
Because I love what I'm doing and it's in some sense an act of service. That's somewhat the way that I internalize it too, because I am thrilled by every moment of working with this person and I get to see the victories too. And it was all orchestrated by me collaborating with this person, and it's rooted, again, that's what the freelance world is all about. It's about you taking ownership of the work, and I always require that in any type of engagement that I'm doing. I want to own something and being able to say that this was produced. We were able to book events and author speeches for this individual to promote their book is just super exciting to say that
Yeah.
two people were able to accomplish that
Yeah.
with simple email messages to bookstores, by
Yeah.
phone calling individuals at independent bookshops. It's just, I love it.
Sometimes seeing the simplicity in things help you understand the complexity of things. Like
Mm,
I'm so serious. I'm learning so many of like the basic things at the grocery
yeah,
store, but when I tell you I'm
right.
seeing things and I'm observing things in what
The
I,
solution is simple,
yeah, you
oftentimes
realize
to a
that everything
complex
else is
issue.
really quite simple. I'm
Yeah,
understanding trade. I
yeah,
studied trade in college, and so for me to be at a grocery store is pretty ironic.
yeah.
So
That's where it happens.
I'm
That's the front
literally seeing
lines
it.
of
Yeah,
where trade is
manager
taking
came through with
place.
the whole list of things that we're running out of in China and so forth. And so my ear's at the ground.
Yeah,
And at the ground, you can hear a lot of things, and there's so much
right.
power in that.
If you're
So
willing to listen.
yeah. So within our ups, we also have our downs, and I think it's a balance to have both in your life. And it doesn't even have to even translate in career. Your down could be your act of service, like you were saying. It's very essential
Yeah.
that that you keep that source of service in your life, because then we get the cloud. We get the cloud. The girls, the
Yeah.
gals, the men who are up in
Whoever.
cloud nine and who just like
They
their
forget.
perspective is looking down on people,
Yeah.
and that so
Isn't the
messed
way that
up.
you should try
It's
to
so
obtain success and
and that's when you.
experience
I mean,
success.
character wise, that's when it all also falls apart as well.
Right.
Whether you realize it or not, even if you come in as like a beautiful, great, grand person, and then like you get swapped into only corporate world and only staying in that one bubble and not really getting outside of yourself and going out for someone, doing something for someone else without necessarily always having that constant hunger mode for more, promotion,
Right.
next level. You start to honestly, you turn hungry. It turns into I don't know how to get there, but it turns into a character that's not that interesting to
Yeah.
me. To me.
Right. You become diluted a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. On yourself.
Conversations, bleh. Like
Yeah.
I can predict you.
Right. And
I
that's
can
no fun.
predict you.
Yeah. And if you
Do
become
you understand?
Yeah. If you become predictable, look at the camera. That's no
I
fun.
won't say any more there.
You going in. Yeah, but I mean, if you become predictable, then you have no dimension.
Then that's
at
when you
that
become
point.
streamlined.
Yeah.
And that's when you
When
become
you can
malleable.
become replaceable and malleable.
That one.
And you don't want that.
Danger.
Right?
So
Yeah.
even for the corporate baddies, like
It applies
keep
to everybody.
that in mind.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, sis. You don't want to become that.
No. So, what's one thing that you're looking forward to this season, friend? In terms of the season, in terms of where we're at?
For the Aftergrad Podcast?
For the Aftergrad Podcast, or for you individually, which is one thing that you're looking forward to as we embark on the rest of this 2022, as we enter into 2023? What's one thing? What's your spirit
that
telling?
I'm looking forward to?
That you're looking forward to. Yeah.
I am looking for my level up mentally to happen in actual, in the actual world. Let me re-say that. I'm looking forward to
I can also
my
restate
level...
my question too.
No,
Okay.
I'm looking forward to my level up mentally to begin happening in my reality. There's some bougie things I want. There's some,
right. There's some experiences that you want to have. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some experiences that I want to have, and there's also some things that I just want off my chest. Like it can be, and it's not even that bougie, honestly. Like a nice apartment to myself.
Oh my God,
I don't think I'm being out of pocket for that, but I understand the world and economics is not really on our side right now, but I am looking forward to when it is and when I can be able to get everything that I really, really, truly want.
Okay. Wonderful.
But I know it's going to take time, so therefore I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to anything. Can I really answer your question?
Sure, please be truthful.
I'm honestly no longer
transparent.
looking forward to anything because like I said, this summer has been so focused on meditation that I don't really answer those questions. I try not to answer those questions anymore because I'm so elated about my present. I'm looking forward to constantly being happy where I'm at. And I don't mean to sound like some philosophical, like, oh, nothing matters, but no, like really on some real stuff. Like, I'm not looking forward to anything because everything is constantly being given to me and everything that I need for the moment in my present. But, I do want an apartment, okay?
Yeah, you want an apartment, you want your own space. Don't we all? Like, that's what we're fighting for. That's what we're trying to get to.
Exactly, and I know that will by nature come in time.
Yeah. Wonderful answer. I mean, I want all those things too. I was listening to your answer and I was trying to figure out, okay, I asked the question, like, what do I want? What am I looking forward to? And I think I really like what you said about translating the mental to the personal reality.
Yeah.
But I think what I want most of all, I think I want consistency, to be honest. Yeah. It took me a second to get there. I was like, okay, the job is here, but it's not necessarily the work that I want to be doing, right? Like, if I'm being entirely transparent, I mean, I want more photography work and I want that to be consistent and I want the clients to be rolling in, but that's not a reality right now. I'm doing work that is interesting to me and I'm meeting interesting people, generally speaking, but it's not happening to the degree and frequency that I know will happen in the future, but isn't happening currently. So I would love consistency. I feel like we're in this period right now where we're building this Aftergrad podcast. We're building our own careers on the side. And with that, routines get out of alignment a lot, at least for me. Yeah. So there's days where I don't make it to the gym. Okay, well, that's fine. I know why I'm missing the gym because I have to be here for the Aftergrad podcast, or, okay, a client called, they need additional work. So let me go ahead and make sure that they get what they need because that's what I do as a freelancer.
I have a follow-up question then, because I know you're a Pisces.
I'm a Pisces, very emotional.
My sister's a Pisces, and so I don't know what it is about, like, so when you say consistency, are you like specifically getting into ritual or like things like your schedule, right? Being consistent?
Yeah.
Do you tend to, as a Pisces, like sacrifice a lot for other people?
Oh, 100%. That's my nature.
And does that put you at risk of like being consistent or finding that consistency that you so desire?
To a detriment. Yeah. Every time.
I'm gonna hold you to it then.
Yeah, hold me to it,
Be
please.
Selfish.
Be selfish.
That's
what
episode.
I'm working
We're
on.
gonna talk on that.
Yeah, I mean that goes hand in hand with like be delusional. But no, you're totally right. I need to be more selfish.
Yeah,
we
don't mean it in like a spiteful way. But
at all.
It is. That's something else we need to unlearn. Is okay. You know,
it's
what
okay
my mom
to love yourself.
That one, but like my mom did tell me this, so I should bring it to the table. Because I used to think that my sisters. Let me be very specific. I would do things that I would say no to things that I wasn't for because I liked consistency. I'm an earth sign, so I like being grounded. Yep. And so if it meant me not being grounded, it was a no. But sometimes it would translate as being selfish. So like my sisters would say that, and that word, the connotation to that word hurt me. And so I would cry and I would be like, Mom, like they're calling me selfish. And she said, you're not selfish, you're self-aware. And so like she said, start changing that language, right? Or figuring out a different connotation to the word selfish because it's actually something that can look out for yourself because nobody out here in the real world is looking out for you.
At all. So you have to be that person. You have to be that individual. Unless you find people like you and I who are going to look out for one another. But that, unfortunately, is difficult to come by oftentimes. So when you're in the thick of it by yourself and you're alone, you're right. I need to be more selfish. And I'm working on it. I have gotten better. Like if you asked me that when we first started the Aftergrad podcast, that would have definitely been something that I would have highlighted. Like I'm very selfless, right? And I'm still always going to be selfless. Yeah. But I am working on being more consistent and having more consistency by way of being a tad bit more selfish in moments where it's to no detriment to the other people I'm surrounding myself with. It's just about loving me, and I have self-love, but deciding that, no, in this moment, I'm going to prioritize me because by doing that, I'm not hurting anybody else. Everything else will still move. Everything else will survive. Everything else will go on. So I'm just going to choose me in that moment. So
rightly so in that moment. Yeah, like take it with a grain of salt, peeps. As you're watching this, I'll be like, oh, these they selfish? No. We just know when to
learning that.
Yeah, we practice. And you kind of have to. The sooner the better because you don't want to come out on. This is me hearing stories because I also want to say this summer has been a moment for me to listen. Listen to my elders and listen to those who have come before me. And as I sit at their feet and I hear, that comes up, that that they wish that they would have taken what was theirs, or like acted on what was theirs, you know, or in certain instances put themselves first. And so from this summer, I've gotten a grasp that like it's not an ugly thing, and it's deemed ugly, especially in the women realm. I want to say that, but yeah.
There was an Instagram video. I mean, okay, we're trying to close out so that we can shift into our next segment.
Right.
But I just want to finalize this thought because it just made me think of this Instagram post where it was this Black woman, and I think you might have been the one to send it to me, but she just said, I wish my parents didn't sacrifice things in light of me. That was you. Yeah, you said that to me, and that just made me think about that. And I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, that's a word. I wish my parents didn't make sacrifices for me in certain moments. And that's a paraphrase, but I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, no, you're totally right, because I look at you, and I'm thinking, you're so talented. You're so legendary. You're so iconic, and no one knows but me.
Right.
And I hate that. And I hate that because I know what you offer me and you offer the people that are in your sphere of influence.
Right.
But I know what you could be offering to other people because I've seen your work.
And that pent-up energy gets passed down generationally.
Yes.
That's why we also need to make sure to be selfish in who you want to be in this world, because you don't want to have a baby and be putting everything that's pent up in you onto them. And that, I'm thinking for my future as well in terms of children. Long time coming, but I don't want to be that mom that was living through my kids. No,
never that. Okay, well, those are the things that we're going to be working on. That's a little bit of a summer reflection for us, and you know, we probably will have long time coming. I mean, it's been a minute. But
I'm trying to fit the whole summer into 1 hour. I think we did.
We did a pretty good old job, right? Like we could have done better. I mean, there was other things that happened, but we'll just have to say that for another episode.
Yeah, we have so much more to reference and to pull upon in the seasons and episodes to come.
Sure.
So.
Let's hop into post thoughts.
Yeah. So in this segment of Post Thoughts, we're actually going to be evaluating something that we posted because we want to normalize that we constantly analyze the things that we put out there, because it's crucial that we make sure it's either one, relevant to today, or no longer relevant to us at all, or maybe our thoughts and ideas behind the thing that we posted has further changed. And we want to normalize that here because we don't want that cancel culture, okay? We're not about that. And so some things that we said back then, we might not stand necessarily behind today.
Right. And that's what this segment is about today, Post Thoughts.
Post Thoughts.
Right. And it goes hand in hand with our Unlearn newsletter as well, which is basically the theme. Just making sure we're keeping ourselves in check and always interrogating anything that we're consuming, any piece of content, any music, any opinion, thought, idea from anybody. So we thought today it would be interesting to self-check ourselves and just see if we agree and stand beside everything that we mentioned or a specific comment that we mentioned in season 1 of the Aftergrad Podcast.
Yeah, and typically the theme is surrounded by the postgraduate thoughts and thinking. I do want to put that out there. The theme is surrounded by our postgraduate thoughts.
Postgraduate thoughts.
Post thoughts.
Period. So let's dive in. I think we wanted to talk about, if you haven't listened to it already, definitely go check it out. It's our second episode. It's where we talk about and promote this idea of building your own life and writing your own syllabus, which is basically kind of intuitive based on the title, but to give you more context, it's this idea that you're going to be in various moments, either in university or when you're in the school of life, like we're navigating now, or postgraduate life. And there's going to be assignments or tasks or responsibilities that you have to embark on, but there might be moments that you have to tailor those assignments or interject your own personality or flair or style to those.
Or simply cut.
Or cut, that too, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
You have all these opportunities and options to select from, and you have to decide, how am I going to make this unique to me? Because there's all of these different roles that we can play or responsibilities that we can assume, right? But at the end of the day, we're unique individuals and we have the right to select and choose how we want to showcase ourselves and our skill sets and our talents in these moments.
Yeah,
so
I don't mean to drag this out, but you are really the professor of yourself now.
Hello.
So with that being said, do we stand beside, writing your own syllabus still? Do we still believe in like giving ourselves a allotted amount of quote unquote classes for ourselves, things to dive into, things to further develop, to read, to learn in this after grad life?
Yeah. For me, it's an absolute yes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's why it was the second episode
Yeah.
of the show and of season one, because that was where we were at. We were so close to the university life. So we thought, okay, that would be a really interesting way to talk about this type of idea. But then also being in the moment too, you just recognize you're on your own schedule, you're on your own time, and you have to find the ways to keep learning
Yeah.
and to keep that growth going, because no one's going to be there. You're not going to have a professor, and you might sometimes not even have your friends around you saying, okay, this is what I'm learning, but you have to find ways to say, okay, I mean, look at all these books that we have here. These are things that interest us, right? And you have to constantly curate that environment for yourself by setting timelines and time frames for, okay, when am I going to engage in this? And it's not easy too, because the beautiful thing about being in university is that structure. But after that happens and you graduate,
Where is it?
where is it?
And you
It
have to
just
form
goes
and how does
immediately.
it look? And when we were thinking about this concept and drafting it up for the podcast last year, it was more of a theory. Like we were just like, okay, yeah, like you could write your own syllabus now, but now I stand
Right.
beside it. Like,
Literally and figuratively.
one of the books that we read this summer, actually, it mentioned, and it's so beyond its time, and it was saying that our generation looks a lot different from the last in the workforce in terms of what learning looks like. It's our jobs now, we will continually have to keep learning.
Cool.
And so now a lot of companies and job forces are inserting certificates and new little mini degrees within their programs so that you can continue to learn. So
Right.
for those of you who are like turned off by this idea of continuing to learn after graduating, I'm sorry, boo, but
Get with it. Internalize it now, because it's just not going to change.
yeah, it's inevitable. We
It's-
are here. It's really technology that's pushing it forward, that's making us learn things at such a faster rate that we have to continue learning. It's no longer that the bachelor degree stops and that you depend on everything that you learn from that bachelor's degree, because by next week there's something else invented and there's needs to be new shifts within the company in order to pivot and for them to continue their capital.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right. And you need to make sure that you're continuing, unfortunately, but that's the way that we operate under capitalism. But you have to continue to offer value. And if you're no
Exactly.
longer valuable,
you're
you're out. You're the door.
the door. Right.
Goodbye.
So, exactly.
Right? So you have to make sure that you're valuable in a sense. And you can only
mhm.
do that by reading and learning and continuing to stay engaged
Exactly.
by building your literal and figurative syllabus.
Right. And then we have the baddies out there who they want to keep learning, but they are overwhelmed. I'm sometimes this person. They're overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. And so they start to kind of like
That be
they
me
get
sometimes.
so getting so scared about how much there is to learn that you
Yeah.
freak out and you end up just being stagnant
Yeah.
in what you want to be learning. And so that's why writing your own syllabus, I stand her. Like to this day, I'm giving myself 5 things that I focus on. And then there's another pivot. Then there's the people who have way too much
Yeah.
on their plate.
Right.
And now
that was us.
Yeah.
Initially, back when we recorded that episode a little bit, I mean, we had to.
You're
cut
right.
a
No,
few
yeah, we
things.
had to cut.
We had to
we
cut
did
some
have to make
things.
some cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love having a friend to hold you accountable. That's
Yeah.
another element to it all, is like once you write your syllabus, have someone look it over.
Have someone look it
Have a
over,
mentor
right?
look it over.
Every syllabi that we looked at when we were in college, it was reviewed
and
by
they'll
a few
tell
people.
you, this is too much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah, you
know.
can't complete all this. Not in this semester. Maybe girl, like,
because then you end up
sure.
it's going to be incomplete on
Yeah.
all of your assignments.
Oh,
and then what? You
that's
fail the class.
Not cute. And then you got to retake the courses.
Oh, baby.
And now you're looking crazy because you set back and your other girlies have
Exactly.
pushed forward. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I catch up? And you're sprinting and now you're taking 7 classes. You're overloading and then you just drop everything.
And then
no.
you drop
Slow
shit.
and steady wins the
the
race.
race.
So that's why you got to lay out your syllabus every time. So we
Every
stick
time.
beside it.
Yeah, keeping myself to 4 things. And even when the next set of 4 things are coming into play, sometimes I get above myself and I'm like, let me start it now.
Yeah,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
Hold.
Wait till next year. Wait till December. Because you
Yeah.
want to stay consistent with these things and you
Yeah.
want to get that A+, babes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Incorporate those breaks too. I mean, that's why y'all didn't see us for a few months too. And just as you have breaks when you're in university and you're on campus, incorporate those breaks into your syllabus that you're
Exactly.
creating.
Fall break.
Fall break, spring break, summer break. Just incorporate it because you can't keep grinding continuously
Yeah.
without a break. Like that's just impossible. So
Right.
you need to have those moments where you're resting and
Yeah.
you're recharging and you come back ready for new learnings.
And maybe one year will come around and we won't necessarily really stand behind writing your own syllabus, because by then the transition, this is just, I feel like, is a beautiful formula for transition season.
Right.
You don't want to just abruptly move into something else and something unknown, milestone, because that's what makes it awkward in the first place. That's what makes the aftergrad moment so unspoken of, because it's so different and vast for everyone, and it's a shock, and everybody wants to go into their homes and just not mention it and don't talk about it, and then we don't know about it, and then we're in it and we're like,
right, like, why did no one say nothing? Like, I just wanted to know what was good. Like,
what was tea? You could have warned me.
You could have warned me. That's really where I'm at too. I just want to know, like, why didn't y'all warn us? Why didn't y'all warn us?
Exactly.
Like, where was the warning?
I don't know. But without fair warning with the syllabus, that's something that we do know. And that's something we are used to. So now we've seen a syllabus enough. Write your own.
Write your own.
I'm so for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's that. So let us know how writing your own syllabus goes for you all. It's going really well for us, I think, in this moment. And I'm actually in the process of rewriting mine for this current season that I'm about to embark on. Yeah. Right? Because I learned so much over the summer. So now it's that moment where I need to, I'm doing the Aftergrad podcast, but then I have my other things that I'm doing individually. Yeah. So
things are having to cut and things are having to get shifted again.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And that goes back to the point I was making about the consistency. So I need to acknowledge that it's that time to rewrite so that I can then interlock into that consistency. All right, Aftergrads, that's it for our first episode back for season 2 of the Aftergrad Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Aftergrad Podcast.
If you enjoyed our visual version or our audio, make sure to subscribe so you can be notified of our latest releases. And we would really appreciate a 5-star review on either platform. It helps us grow this community of Aftergrads.
And we're still trying to hear from you all for our Aftergrad case study submission segment. So definitely share your confessions, your questions, your life situations with us via that form. And
with that,
that's it. Yeah. That's the Aftergrad Podcast, episode 1 of season 2.
It was so much fun, and we will return soon.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, bye.